Hi, I'm Shamika, and I'm here to talk about week three's discussion on informed consent. I did pull up a informed consent form for a counseling organization that is very close to the area that I live in here in Florida. It is Lively Therapy, which is a therapist office where they do a lot of counseling and psychotherapy for many different traumas. Um, so I did a little bit of research on the informed consent that was listed on the site, and just basically going, over all of the reading that was assigned for this week, and just really kind of getting that definition of what that informed consent actually means for the client and the relationship between the client and the counselor just gave me a lot of real insight about how important this document actually is. I've actually done some counseling myself, and I've been the client, and I've signed this form, and probably not really knowing the full in-depth detail of what I was really signing. I kind of understood the basis of what it was, but not really the severity of if some things were not seriously followed to meet the guidelines by both the state and the ACA. One of the things that I noticed with Lively Therapy is that the counselor there, she is a member of the ACA, the American Counseling Association. She actually has that listed on the bottom of her page. So I noticed that her informed consent really follows very closely a lot of what the ACA guidelines actually, do require. And, using the ACA site was actually one of my references. Pulling that up at counseling.org, the ACA Code of Ethics, and it was listed under Section A.2, informed consent, and A.2B, types of information needed. And from what I could see, her form pretty much it covered a lot of what was required under those statutes from the very beginning. It definitely talked about fees for services, cancellation fees. She goes into depth about like giving a 24-hour notice, confidentiality, notice of privacy practices, patients' rights, practice responsibilities, complaints. This was a big one because I really took some time to carefully read over this. I noticed from this week's reading that this was a big thing where it talked about if a client wants to make a complaint on a counselor, the counselor really needs to make readily available the information so that the client can actually file the complaint. So I was very surprised to actually see that this was actually listed on her informed consent form for Lively Therapy, just basically explaining what the client's rights were if they wanted to file a complaint. Contact information, signatures, dates, just pretty much lined up with most of what I saw was required for the ACA. Now, the Florida State Board requirements, the thing was, Florida, I see a lot of where they may be coinciding with some similarities from the ACA. However, I felt that a lot of their standards seem to be a little more relaxed, but that was just my interpretation of it. And so, from what I saw with Lively Therapy's informed consent, since she is a member of the American Counseling Association, I see that what it appears to me that she did is follow the actual ACA guidelines, and that kind of covers her also in the state of Florida, even though the state of Florida has a little more relaxed guidelines. Some of the references that I used this week were this week's presentation that was very detailed, really went over a lot about the informed consent. Definitely our book readings, Ethical, Legal, and Professional Issues in Counseling with Theodore Rimley and Barbara Harley. I don't think I'm pronouncing her last name right. But and definitely the ACA website, and just some articles that I actually did some research within the ACA website as well. But hopefully I explained this good and thoroughly as I could, and I hope everyone has a great weekend.